Hello and welcome to the live stream. So just yesterday I hit 12,000 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you so much to everybody who's been watching, subscribing, liking and all of those sorts of things. And it's just been an amazing journey actually all the way through. And when I started the channel, I didn't really anticipate or at least plan for what it would ultimately turn into, which is really my full-time business here with Take One Tech. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through a sort of timeline of events and share some of the things that I wish I'd done differently, some of the things that I think I did right along the way that helped as well, and how I've gone about actually building a business out of YouTube, because I think it's something that is really misunderstood, certainly from people who aren't creators on YouTube, in terms of what it means to monetize from the content that you're creating. Now, this could be that you're just going to create a channel and this is going to grow into something of its own, in its own right, in the same way that I've sort of done here. But it could also be how you can use content to really add value and add it as a marketing tool for your existing business. So that's the idea of what we're going to go through today. If you've got any questions and you are watching live, feel free to drop those in the chat as well as we go through. I'll be happy to answer absolutely anything about the process of building a channel, the process of monetizing it on and off the platform as well, and any insights that I can share with you as well. I've always go from a position of total transparency with all of this sort of stuff. So I have done a number of these similar kind of live streams before, like when I reached 10,000 subscribers, it was a similar kind of thing. But what I'm going to do this time is actually go through a very clear sort of timeline of events. And I thought that that might help to put things into a little bit more context. So with that said, let me just, whoops daisy, I just realized I just knocked out my thing. Never mind, I'll just continue as before. So let's start with a timeline. And what I've done here is put together a timeline of the things that I've done basically off YouTube that YouTube has been feeding into. So how the business has grown alongside YouTube. Now, I started the channel in May of 2021. I suppose technically I registered it in April, but my first live stream, my first video on YouTube was 14th or 13th of May 2021. And then I had set myself the target of posting a video every week a video every day, I should say, for 100 days, because there's been a lot of people say this, but I heard it from Doc Rock, who said that, yeah, you need to get to 100 videos and posting 100 videos before you can make any sense of the analytics or anything like that. There's no point looking down at your feet, sort of looking at numbers for individual videos when you first start off, because it does take time to build up all of the data that goes along with that. So that's the way that I set off with the channel. But really, I noticed that I was getting some sort of traction really pretty quickly. So just by the first month in June, so I'd done 30 videos by this time, but I did hit my 100 subscriber mark that next month. I also, from the outset, had a way for people to, first of all, donate. So I had the Buy Me a Coffee membership. You can still find the link to that in my description, by the way. So if you want to go and support the channel, you can do it in that way as well. But I also had my first digital product launched. So that was an icon pack. On my website, you'll find a whole range of different icon packs for Stream Deck related to the things that I talk about on my channel. So related to Keynote, Ecamm Live, and so on. So there's various other different icon packs on there. That was the first digital product that I created. In fact, the very first digital product that I created was a calculator icon pack for Stream Deck, which is $2. And I still have that on my site and it's still generating revenue, albeit $2 at a time. But actually every little bit helps. But I also had a way for people to book consultations with me. And that was actually through Buy Me a Coffee as well. So if you do find anything that is of interest in the channel and you think that I may be able to help you with any of this, then you too can go ahead and book a consultation. And that is done at the moment through Calendly and through my website. But previously that was done through Buy Me a Coffee as well. So giving people the option to book those things, and the link is just down in the chat and in the description as well. But giving people the option to book those consultation calls right from the outset. You know, it was set up when I had 0 subscribers. It's worth just noting that you don't need to have a huge following or a huge number of subscribers to start getting traction with those sorts of things. Because as I say, I hadn't even got 100 subscribers and somebody booked a consultation call with me. So, and that was a paid consultation. So yeah, don't think that you need to have millions, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, or even thousands to actually make a difference in your either new business or your existing business from creating content on YouTube. So then we move into sort of June. Into July, into August, and I was still doing the same thing, posting regularly, almost a video a day at this stage. And that was all the way through till the end of the year. And I was also creating more icon packs and creating digital products. And I actually hit the 1,000 subscriber mark. It was about 11:30 at night on the last day of the year. So it was nice to just pass that 1,000 subscriber milestone by the end of the year. But really, to sum up what I'd spent the time doing then, it was over this period really focused on creating lead generation, lead magnets, so PDFs, some guides, some overlays for eCam and things like that. It was also those digital products. So really, I see those as lead magnets as well. Obviously, they are revenue generating in themselves, but you know, it's a $10 icon pack, so whatever that is, that is worth in the long term. They do add up. I would say that, in fact, I think all the paid icon packs that I've got on my website at the moment were actually created then. I haven't really made any more since that first year, but they are still generating, a relatively good amount of revenue just from those being there. So once you've made them, think of it like you're investing in some sort of little revenue generating asset. There's no such thing as passive income, but that is about as passive as it comes. Once you've created it and you put it up there, then it just still generates revenue. The other thing then would be consultation calls. As I mentioned, the first one came, right after within the first month of being on YouTube. But then after that, there was, quite a lot of consultation calls that were booked as I was making more videos. People were finding them interesting and wanted help to implement that. And so there were, quite a lot of calls being had there. And the result of this is, actually, that gave me a huge amount of clarity on ultimately who the audience was that I was speaking to. So, really understanding who they were noticing that in the people that were booking calls with me. And now I feel like this is my sort of core demographic, if you like. I mean, I do talk about Stream Deck, I talk about Rodecaster, I talk about audio, microphones and things like that. But ultimately, the people who go on to join the what's now called the Digital Stage Academy, which is my sort of core flagship product, those are essentially entrepreneurs, business people wanting to use all of this tech in their business, whether that is just leveling up their on-screen, on-stage, on their digital stage presence, or maybe some of the other business tools and things like that I talk about as well. But that's who I always feel that is my core audience. So that is something to just bear in mind, because I've said this a number of times before, but if I was really trying to absolutely maximize YouTube in terms of YouTube growth, I would probably just hyper focus in on the Stream Deck, because Stream Deck is still the thing that gets the absolute most views on my channel consistently. It's the sort of most widely used of all of the devices. I mean, I get a lot of views for Rodecaster and things like that as well, but Stream Deck just does seem to be one that is, it's on most streamers' desks, whereas people have got different views on different audio interfaces and stuff like that. But the thing about it is, I don't do that because my main priority isn't actually YouTube views or subs or growing the channel. The main priority is serving who I feel is my core audience. And so that means covering all the things that I cover. One of them is talking about channel growth and building a business, which is why I'm doing this live stream, which I guess won't get as many views as if I'd done, the ultimate Stream Deck guide today instead. Anyway, so that is the first sort of 7.5 months, I guess, on YouTube. And so then as we moved into 2022, I was still focused on creating the content. I set up the Take One Tech Discord server. I should probably say, if you want to go and join that, you can find a link to it in the description as well. takeonetech.io/family will take you through to that. But I was still continuing to just sort of build out the content. And this was all up until April of that year. This was all very much completely secondary to other things that I was doing. So other business interests that I had. And my YouTube time was basically 2 hours in the morning, sort of 3 until 5 o'clock in the morning. That was kind of like my YouTube time, effectively. Well, actually, I say that it was 4 till 6. I woke up at 3 and then it was 4 till 6 because I was working full time on other things. Um, Thanks, Brian. I didn't notice you just popped in. Thanks, Brian. Just in the Zoom session on the back. But when it came to April, without going into all of the details, there were some things that happened completely separate outside of Take One Tech, related to some other big business projects that I was working on, and it caused me to really want to have a slight shift in focus, or at least put a little bit more time into Take One Tech. And so that's what I did. And what I did was create the Ecamm Live Masterclass. Part of that was because I had created the ultimate Ecamm video tutorial on YouTube, 4.5 hours, one take, start to finish. Here's how to do everything in Ecamm. And then, of course, they update Ecamm. And so suddenly that 4.5 hour video, parts of it are out of date or not relevant. So I thought, well, maybe it needs to be in course format. So that was my first course, the Ecamm Live Masterclass. And that was kind of my first big step away from YouTube. Obviously, the YouTube monetization had started by then, but still just sort of dripping in. I will show you my stats later so you can see the wealth, I'm being sarcastic, that YouTube generates on its own. It's not a huge amount in the YouTube partner program, but this was the first sort of big step that I took to actually do some serious monetization off platform. Now then we progressed forward and came to June, and I released the Zoom Masterclass. Then we kept going. The numbers were still going up. In July, I was one of the hosts at the Ecamm Zoom workshop event, which they ran. It was a multi-day event with multiple different hosts, but I was one of the running one of the sessions there. And this was all about sort of further promotion, building the sort of whole email list and so on as well. Started the Live Streamer Backstage podcast in September. Numbers still sort of ticking up here. October was a little bit more busy. I started the Creators Pod podcast with a group of great friends. I also did the Rodecaster Pro 2 Masterclass, and I was also one of the speakers, actually on a panel for that one, of the Ecamm Leap into Podcasting event. So it was all still about still course creation, but still lots of things that were happening sort of off YouTube. All this while, though, I was still creating videos on YouTube and streaming on YouTube as well. I did a Stream Deck giveaway, Stream Deck Plus giveaway in November. Some people, I think, use giveaways and as a token thing, and so they maybe are including things that aren't relevant to their audience. But given that the most popular things on my channel were Stream Deck related videos, I figured that this was a highly relevant giveaway. And so if I run this giveaway where you're collecting email addresses, when people enter, they have to do other things to get additional entries, like subscribe to YouTube and do all these other different things. So it's a way to get that further exposure, and that was actually a great way to increase my email list with what I felt are sort of relevant contacts as well. So then continuing on along then, in December, having taken coaching clients from the outset, as I've mentioned, and all through the first year, or first whatever remaining of 2021 there was, and all through 2022, in December was the first long-term coaching client that I took on. And that was somebody who wanted to just, pay up front for a year of coaching, 8 hours a month as it happens. And it was something that was really validating, actually, of a plan that I had already sort of started putting in place, which was for the Take One Tech Academy, but also having a one-to-one coaching aspect to that, or at least a one-to-one coaching tier. So that to me felt like a big milestone because, again, it was just sort of validating of everything that had come before it. But if I could sum up then what had happened. Oh, and I also just ticked over to 4,000 subs at the end of that year. So I'd added on 3,000 new subscribers in that year, whereas the first year was kind of whatever it was, 1,000 in 7 months. Then it was a further 3,000 in 2022. But sort of summing up then what this year was all about. It was still about audience growth. I was still posting a lot to YouTube. I was posting recorded videos. I was posting podcast episodes. I was also doing my live streams, of course, the weekly live streams, which have been a thing since the beginning. I was also spending a lot of time, as you could see, on course creation as well. So still adding more to that sort of body of courses under the Take One Tech umbrella, for want of a better word. And I saw this all as foundation building for the Academy. I'd always wanted and seen the opportunity, and I say always, I had been developing this since throughout that year, I should say, of developing a subscription model for the, giving people access to all the courses and additional resources as well. So that's what that was all about. And finally, in March of 2023, then is when I actually launched the Academy. The Take One Tech Academy, as it was called then. I have since changed the name of it to the Digital Stage Academy, which I think is more fitting of exactly what it's all about. I'll talk about that more later. And so that was a great sort of launch event that I had for that. We had lots of people came in right from the beginning, so that was really encouraging as well. I also did the Ecamm Advanced Workshop. That was a one-week workshop that I ran myself on the Ecamm channel. And again, that was a way to, first of all, give back to the Ecamm community. I'm always super grateful for the support that I've had from day one from the Ecamm community and from Ecamm as a company as well. And so I always love being able to do these sort of workshops to add value and give back to the community in that way. I'll talk more about my Ecamm Live Masterclass as well. That's something else that I made free for the exact same reason. So then continuing on, but another reason, let me just be perfectly clear, it's not completely altruistic. It's also, additional exposure and that list building as well. So just to be clear about that. But then in April, then I did a Rodecaster Duo giveaway during the launch of that. And that was another thing that was highly relevant to my audience. So that was a way to get additional exposure, capture email addresses from people who are interested in that sort of gear to then be able to obviously promote later on. So it's just another sort of marketing tool in a way as well. Next, then we go on into sort of May and June. The numbers still going up at an increasing rate. So this is sort of consistent, like all the way up till about 6 months ago. Actually, the numbers are increasing, but also the rate of increase is increasing. So the growth is accelerating. So in June, I released the Stream Deck Masterclass. Then in July, I released the Discord Beginner's Guide and the Kajabi Accelerator course. In August, I released the YouTube Beginner's Guide. And by the way, I didn't kind of necessarily notice the volume that I was putting out until I went back to create this sort of timeline. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend putting this out as a schedule because, well, let me just get to the end of this year and I'll talk more about that. I then did the Ecamm Live Tools and Tech workshop. That was another workshop that I did myself for Ecamm, which was a 5-day workshop. And then we had the Keynote Masterclass, which was released in October. I went and delivered a session at Ecamm Creator Camp, and that was in October as well. Then in November, I hosted my own 4-day event, the Digital Stage Revolution, and I also hosted another workshop for Vivo Meetings, which is another company, an online meeting platform, and I did a 5-day workshop for them, which was the Meeting Tech Mastery Workshop. So in amongst all of this, throughout this year, the focus sort of shifted from YouTube, quite honestly, to workshops, which were, again, for delivering that value, putting myself out there, and allowing people to see the sort of quality of the content that I can put out, outside of my YouTube audience, to then, bring people into the other content that I have to offer. It was about course creation. Obviously, you saw there were lots of courses being created in amongst all of that. And I saw that as part of building the Academy. I've really been focused on wanting to maximize the value that is available in the Digital Stage Academy. And so putting in all those different courses and so on is all a part of that. Now, on YouTube, I think in 2023, I think I put out 11 recorded videos. So not quite one a day. It's not even one a week, not even one a month. I put out 11 recorded videos, but I was still doing my weekly live stream apart from a couple of weeks that I missed. So there was a definite shift there. Now, in doing that, it was always something that I had to be conscious of because I do believe that people treat live streams very differently to recorded videos when they're browsing on YouTube. I think if you see something is a recorded video and if you see it was a live stream, like it says streamed 3 months ago, or it says the date is 3 months ago. Somehow, I think that people make the attachment that a live stream from 3 months ago is hugely out of date because they've missed the event almost. Whereas a recorded video from 3 months ago doesn't feel, I don't think, as out of date. I think also people have a lot of opinions as to what a live stream is, and so they're going to come into it feeling like it might be lots of checking in with the chat, little in-group banter or things like that maybe they might feel like out of, because that's certainly what some live streams can be. I know that, excuse me, my live streams from the beginning used to be very much like that. It's like, hi guys, checking in with the chat, and going and answering questions. And whilst I don't want to neglect the chat, and I will come to the chat in a moment, by the way, to use that as a segue, but I am very conscious these days of, first of all, I don't have a countdown timer. I think that is really off-putting for people who come into a video to they've seen the thumbnail, they've seen the title, they click on it, and then they're into a 3-minute countdown. The majority of views on live streams are going to come after the stream has finished. So it's just, you might as well have it so that you go straight into it for the benefit of those people. And it was somebody who I really respect once posted on Twitter and said, why is it that streamers punish people who turn up on time? Because then they've got to wait through a timer. And it was actually that prompted me to drop the timer completely and just go straight into it. It's also what made me want to sort of front load the content and then come to comments and questions and things like that after the fact, having delivered, the majority of the content up front for that reason. But I am conscious of the fact that still, even though when I did take those steps, focusing on content first, dropping the timer, I noticed that the replays of my live streams went up dramatically. And so now I think the second most popular video on my whole channel is a live stream. So that was something that I changed. But there's no getting away from the fact that in 2023, I basically really dropped down the content that I was putting out onto YouTube, except just a weekly live stream. Now, because I had posted so many videos the year and 2 years before that, or year and a half before that, there's still been quite a lot of momentum. And so the videos that are getting viewed are those older videos. My live streams are getting viewed too, but in amongst that, it's sort of 50% or 60% are those sort of older videos. And I'll come on to that in a moment. Because let me just check in with the chat. Having said that I front load the content, let me just say a few hellos. There's Doc's, there's Doc's thing from comment from last week, but Doc was a huge influence, and starting with his office hour sessions that he used to run from day one, that I was in his sessions for well over a year, and they were really helpful to be among like-minded people to grow with. That's Doc's comment from last week. So, but thanks, Doc, if you're watching on the replay. Hey, George, great to see you here, and thank you very much indeed. Looking forward to seeing you at Creator Camp if you're going to be there. I think you are going to be there. And it's great to see you as well, Dina. Absolutely wonderful. One of the first guests on the podcast that I mentioned, the Live Streamer Backstage podcast. It was great to talk with you. And of course, as well, Michelle, one of the original crew in Doc's office hours, and then as part of the Creators Pod as well. Thanks so much for all the times that we've spent and the conversations that we've had along the way as well, Michelle. So we started with in Doc's group, and then there was Rich, Keely, Michelle, another Dina, and Rob, and we were started our little group called the Creators Pod, and having that accountability group was just really powerful. I highly recommend, if you're doing anything, it's so much easier to not do it on your own, but have people to bounce ideas off. So yeah, it was really valuable to have that experience and that group to be a part of. As we come back then, and Stephen Wicks, the man himself. Let me just pop this up as well. Hey, Stephen, another one from Doc's group. It's been great to see all that you're doing too. Definitely, it's great to have a supportive group to be a part of, and still there's people like you, like yourself. When I see that you're doing stuff, it's great to see how far we've all come from, because we all started from very, very similar points as well. So with that said, let me just press the right button. Let's just continue on then with this. So as we move then into 2024 this year, I felt like I'd got a really solid plan in place, and I always have like quarterly plans, and then I have my bigger goals. But I always have my quarterly plans. In fact, I think it was Dina who recommended the let me get this right, the 12-week year. That was the book. I always ask my guests for book recommendations. And so I read that book on Dina's recommendation. And it's basically a book saying to plan your work out in quarters. And the 12-week year comes from, rather than break up a thing into a year, break it down into a quarter, but break it down to 12 weeks. And then you've got an extra week in hand to plan the next one. So I do always plan my things in quarters. And the first quarter of the year, this year actually got off to a really great start. And we went through to, started in January with the Kajabi Accelerator course. In February, I launched the Take One Tech Network. So this is something that's actually just for Academy members, and it is, we've got the Discord, but the Academy has its own community space. So the Take One, the Digital Stage Network, I should say, as it's called now. And this is a place for conversations and get people to get help, and it's also where we have our office hours sessions and things like that as well. So that was something that was launched in February, and then as we continue on, then I hit the 10,000 subscriber mark in March. Continuing on further, we went to in April. I did the Leap Into Tools and Tech event for Ecamm, or with Ecamm. I was one of the speakers there. I was also a speaker at Podfest Masterclass event as well. And so everything was going fine up until then. But as I say, I'd got some quite big plans, and I had it all planned out. But as we progressed on into May, June, and July, what should have happened at the end of April is also my Ecamm Live Masterclass should have been launched. Lots of people were subscribed to that, or I should say pre-registered for it, and lots of people were waiting for it as well. And I pushed it back from May until June. I pushed it back from June until July, and it just kept getting knocked back because the way that my work is structured, or the way that my working routine is structured, is that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are for Academy and consultation calls, and Monday and Tuesday are my sort of core working time when I can actually focus on creating something. They're my dedicated focus days. It just seemed that for 13 weeks, there was some sort of unexpected event. There was sickness in the family, either me being ill, my wife and son were both had visits to hospital at various times as well. There were various other setbacks. And so it just seemed that there was these constant things. And it actually felt like a real sense of I will use the O word if Doc's watching. I know he doesn't like it, but it did feel overwhelming to have like this thing that was still supposed to be going out. Technically, it wasn't that difficult. You know, I'd got everything already. It just needed to be completed. But there did feel like this sense that it was completely getting away from me because there was these other mounting things that I'd set, these other targets that I'd set for myself. Some of them publicly, like the Ecamm Masterclass, and some of them not so publicly, just other things that I wanted to do that weren't getting done. And I was finding that these setbacks were really having an impact on me delivering those things that, as I say, either public or not. But then also when I did have time, then I was having to catch up on all the minutiae of doing everything, because up until this point, I'd basically been doing everything myself. Now, the irony is about, when was it, 8 years ago or something like that, I did go through a period of using VAs for some real estate investing projects we were looking at in the UK and in other places as well. And so we used a number of different VA resources for virtual assistants, that is. And I thought, well, why am I not actually doing that now? Because actually they would be ideal to be doing some of the things that are taking up my time. So July was actually the time when I got back into actually outsourcing and took on 2 VAs who now do a number of different things in the company. So one of them is sort of back-end systems and processes, and then the other doing graphics, and they're soon to be doing some more sort of like editing of shorts. So still, it's going to be a zero edits channel, but editing the shorts, adding on captions and things like that. So now finally on the website, we do have a team page. So this is Beverly and Zarina, who are dealing with other aspects of the business. And it's amazing how freeing that was actually. And I talked about this in a live stream 2 weeks ago, where I talked about the outsourcing masterclass, which I'll come on to in a moment as well. But there is this thing of the Pareto principle, where 20% of your effort is generating 80% of the revenue or the effect. And so if you can save 1 or 2 hours somewhere by having somebody else do those tasks, where you can focus instead of on those low revenue generating or low impact tasks, then suddenly you're multiplying your own time significantly in terms of the impact that you're having in your own business. And It's one of these things that, as I say, it's something I knew because I used to do it before. But the problem I fell into and the trap that I fell into with Take One Tech is I actually genuinely love everything about it. I love setting up Kajabi. I love dealing with systems and automation and things like that. I love all the graphic design side of things. So my problem was that I just loved it all, and so tried to do it all. And so therefore was focusing on things that probably weren't the best use of my time. So in July, I did actually, even though the Ecamm course was kind of behind, I did take a further 2 weeks intentionally to say, right, well, let me just get my virtual assistants up and running so that they can be dealing with some of the stuff that's taking up my time. And that then freed me up to then focus. And so in August, finally, 3 months late, I did actually release my Ecamm Live Masterclass. And this is a completely free masterclass. Ecamm Live is the software that I'm using right now to produce this live stream. Incidentally, the graphics that you're seeing over there are done with Keynote, but I integrate Keynote with Ecamm. All of the camera switching and things like that is done with Ecamm Live. It's live production software for the Mac. It's what I've been using since day one, and I absolutely love it. And that is why, since I got so much support from the Ecamm Live community, that I decided when I fully updated my Ecamm Live Masterclass, I would make it completely free for everybody so that everyone can benefit from Ecamm. Because, as I say, I owe a huge debt of gratitude to not just the company, but the community as well. So I did finally get that out in August. And then as we went on into September, I also made the outsourcing masterclass, which basically explains all about the process of how you can hire virtual assistants and how that sort of fits into a business, and you can start integrating it. Because I think there is a lot of apprehension about it in terms of feeling like, well, nobody can do it as well as me, or I don't have time to outsource, or I don't have the finances available yet, or there's all these sort of blocks that we put in our way. Whereas in actual fact, you can do it in a really slow and managed way so that you can start to offload some of your tasks well, as I say, at your own pace without committing to anything. It can just be an hour a week or something like that. And you will sort of build that confidence in what will become your team, and then can sort of scale as you see the impact of it. So the outsourcing masterclass basically teaches that, and how to use platforms like, first of all, just for freelancers like Fiverr, Upwork, but then the main one that I recommend in there is onlinejobs.ph, which is a platform to allow you to hire VAs that are in the Philippines that have got great language skills, great work ethic, and there's obviously a cost differential there in terms of wages versus potentially in your local country as well. So that's what I do in the outsourcing masterclass, is talk through that entire process of how you go about finding someone, how you go about onboarding them and getting them up and running. And it's really not as tricky as it may sound. So that was the outsourcing masterclass. So then, now we have just come into October and we've just hit the 12,000 subscriber mark. So just once again, in case you sort of missed the announcement, I am running a 25% off my courses. This is just for the pre-recorded courses that are available on my channel, and also for icon packs and things like that. It's not available for the Academy. I'll talk about that in a moment. That is... we're just waiting to have a launch event, which will be happening in November for that. But that is, you can get that through till Wednesday next week. And that is just enter the code 12 at checkout for any of those courses, or indeed icon packs as well. And that's just my way of saying thank you for all of your support. As we go back, though, into the status where we are at the moment. So that is where we're up to right now. In terms of plans for the next quarter and into 2025, I should say then that, well, first of all, summing up this year so far, it's been about academy development, it's been about product alignment, back-end systems. So that's the other thing that I've been working on with the VAs, is actually finally sorting out things. I mean, there's a lot that you sort of see outwardly, but there's a lot that you don't see on the inside, such as, if I'm honest, my audience segmentation and tagging was a bit of a mess in Kajabi. So these are all tasks that feel like, oh, now I've got to go through, tens of thousands of contacts, and sorting out their tags and audience segmentation and stuff like that. So there was lots of tidying up to do from the back end perspective, because I've migrated my email now from Kajabi over to ConvertKit. Actually, they've just changed their name to Kit, but anyway, so I'll be doing more with email going forward. So lots of tweaking going on in the back end as well, but then also growth planning, and that product alignment is really about about thinking about my sort of core messaging, my core audience. And I mentioned that it was originally called the Take One Tech Academy, but I've rebranded it the Digital Stage Academy, because that's really what it's all about, is helping people to deliver their value on the digital stage and all the things that go around that in terms of excuse me, building a business out of the content that we create. So the digital stage then is the sort of new name that I've got for the majority of my my digital products. I just realized I muted one mic, but I've still got another live mic. That doesn't help. Anyway, as we go forward then for the sort of coming quarter, the digital stage future plans then are, first of all, I'm going to do Creator Camp in a week tomorrow. So next week will be my last live stream before I go and do that. There I'm delivering a session, a series of sessions, I suppose, of workshops on giving presentations using Ecamm, and that's with the also amazing Daniel Chi as well. He's my co-presenter there. We're doing that together, same as we did last year as well, but we've updated the content. And so that's Ecamm Creator Camp. But when we come back for that, or maybe, hopefully, just before, I'm not going to make that promise though, I'm aiming to get my video studio masterclass out, either, if not just before I go. It might be a push, quite honestly, but if not, then it'll be out just after I come back. But then after that, then there are a number of things then that I'm working on. So first of all, the Digital Stage Blueprint is going to be a free event. It's a 3-day event that's going to teach people all about how to sort of master the digital stage, monetize from it, and show basically what is possible using the sort of technology that I talk about on the channel and in the academy. And that is a free event, but it's ultimately a lead into the academy itself. So what was the Take One Tech Academy, now called the Digital Stage Academy, that's the sort of launch event for that. What I'm also launching, again, maybe just before I go away, maybe just after, is a newsletter. So this was part of the reason of the shift from Kajabi to ConvertKit for email, is because I think they do a much better job, quite frankly, of email management. And so I'm going to be launching a newsletter. One of the other things that's good about ConvertKit is it's just called Kit now. I've got to get into that habit. One of the other things that's good about it is it's a lot easier for people to choose what they want to hear from you. So previously, people were either subscribed or they weren't, and I hadn't done, honestly, a great job of segmentation, whereas now people will just get the choice of opting in or out to the things that they want. So maybe they want the newsletter, but they don't want promos, or they want promos, but they're not interested in the newsletter, or they want course updates, but not other stuff. So it gives people the option to choose what they want to hear from me about. So that's the Digital Stage Digest newsletter. What I'm also launching is a Digital Stage Mastery podcast as well. You spot the theme now, the Digital Stage theme. And the live streamer backstage podcast that I did, I'm going to call it one season, because that makes it sound like it was intentional. I basically recorded 25 episodes that went out over 25 weeks and then didn't record any more. But let's call it a season, and let's say that I'm starting a new season, but I'm also changing the name of it as well. And the difference here is, whereas the live streamer backstage podcast was primarily an interview show, this is going to be more of a solo podcast with occasional guests on it as well. And it's talking all about the sorts of things that I talk about across the channel and all of the other things. And this is what I was talking about in that sort of previous section where I talked about one of the focuses this year up until now has been really on alignment of products and alignment of the branding there. It may well be that ultimately, at some point, I may well change the name of the channel to Digital Stage something or other. Who knows? But for the time being, this is just the umbrella for all of the different products that are within it. Now, when it comes to YouTube, one of the things then, having said that, the growth was accelerating initially, actually, it hasn't been accelerating for the past sort of 6 months or 8 months, in fact. And so you may have noticed those numbers sort of going up and increasingly, going up more quickly. Well, the fact is that the 12,000 subscriber, 10,000 subscriber mark was, what was it, April? So sort of almost 6 or 7 months ago, 7 or 8 months ago. My brain's just fried here. I can't do the maths. But basically, the rate of growth has significantly slowed. And if we go over to look at the stats, I can show you this in YouTube. So here is my my channel. As you can see, just passed over the mark there. If I go into my analytics, though, these are the views for the last 28 days. And there was a spike there when I posted about the new Rodecaster video. There was a couple of other videos that I posted and shorts, but now it's settling back down to this level. This is significantly lower than it was this time last year. So if I go to, well, let's just do 365 days. What you'll see is if my average here is around about the 1.3 thousand mark, so that 1.3K there. Oops, my little pointer is just not working. Let me just reset that and then come back out. Then last year, over here, it was more like, 2.3, 2.5, 2.4, something like that. So it's definitely taken a slight tailing off there. And what I mentioned earlier was I think people value the pre-recorded videos rather than live streams. And I think that this is just by virtue of the fact that now my videos, because the bulk of them were created in the first 12 months, literally, 80% of the videos were from that first 12 months. And now they're just becoming more and more out of date. And so people are seeing more and more videos of mine that are coming up that are, saying 3 years ago, posted in 2021 or 2022. If we go and look at the lifetime, it's even more clear, or maybe it isn't. Let me just zoom in on this a little bit. What you can see here is the trend is kind of upward, and then it reaches this sort of peak here around about the end of last year. There's always a bit of a peak around Christmas as well with my sort of channel because people are investigating all of the tech goodies that they've got for Christmas. But now you can see there is a distinct downward trend there. Now, I'm not actually bothered about this too much because, oh, by the way, another little milestone. I don't think I'm actually on 1.5 million views. I think it's 1.4 something. I think they rounded it, but anyway, that's kind of mind-boggling. But never mind, that's another issue, another thing. But the fact that my videos are tailing off, I feel like I've been saying this for quite some months now, which is I'm going to get back to making regular recorded videos. But I really am this time. After I come back from Creator Camp, after I do the event, the launch event for the Academy, I feel like I've got the parts in place in the Academy now that I wanted to have. I've got most of the bases covered in terms of those other full courses. And so I will get back to posting videos. I don't know that I'll get back to posting one video a day as I was in the beginning, but certainly posting maybe 3 videos a week is something that should be doable, along with my my live stream as well. So I see this as a temporary dip, quite honestly, because I just know that I know what causes these spikes. The other funny thing about this, by the way, which isn't immediately obvious from this, there were distinct points along the way where there was a ramp up. You can almost see it there. Like this was it was low for a time, and then there was one video that just sort of spiked it up, and then it stayed at this slightly higher level, and then there was another video that spiked it up and it stayed at that level. And if you look, it's kind of like there's these little steps. Maybe it's not as obvious on these really small graphs, but there are these like obvious steps where you'll just have something which will give it a boost and pick it up. Obviously, some people have these really nice ones where they have a video that takes off and then it just trends completely upwards and then that's it, they're good. But that isn't the case with mine. But I certainly have had steps up. These really big spikes, by the way, actually coincide. I think a couple of them coincide with those giveaways that I did. So this one was around the Rodecaster Duo giveaway, and then I got a massive spike up of people. And to put that into context as well, by the way, in terms of what the effect of that was for growing the email list, with the Rodecaster Duo giveaway that I did last year, that generated, I think, 14 or 15,000 new contacts that entered that, which is pretty astounding, actually, for me, because I certainly didn't send it out to that many people. I certainly don't have that many followers or at the time on all the social media platforms. But what I was using for that was a platform called King Sumo, part of the AppSumo subscription. There's other things that are like that. I forget the name of another popular one, but it's one of these things where people are incentivized to actually share the offer out and share the giveaway out as well, because they get additional entries for doing that. So I did find that it had a bit of a snowball effect. And so there was Yeah, I think 15,000 new contacts, around about that. But there were 750,000 entries because people were doing all these different things to then go and give themselves additional tickets, if you like, for the giveaway. So that was quite phenomenal. But that was something that just drove one of these spikes. And there, as I say, there have been a few things along the way that have done that. Same with this little spike here that we can see near the end. That is, as I say, the Rodecaster video caused that spike. So sometimes you get those spikes and then it drives a number of subscribers. There you can see the total views stuff. I was looking at this and I said I think it's less, and it's right there in like the biggest text on the screen. So that's the number of views so far. But that's been the sort of the sort of growth path, or the way it's slowed. Same with the subscribers. If you look at subscribers, this is a really skewed thing because was a spike in subscribers again around that one of those giveaways, the duo giveaway, and so it's kind of completely skewed this graph. But the point is that up until the end of last year, I was probably adding about 10 to 20 a day. So you can see those numbers are ranging between 10 and 20 by the end of the year. But now I've dropped down a bit more to kind of like the lower numbers. So single digits, maybe a couple of times is double digits. So the rate of growth of the channel has slowed down a little bit as well through lack of posting. It's as simple as that. You can see there the revenue figure. So that is total revenue since starting since getting monetized. So I got monetized, as I mentioned, at the end of December, 28th of December, 31st of December. And so here you can see the revenue. Incidentally, those spikes along there is because this also includes channel members. So down below this video, you'll see there's a little link to join. So if you want to join as a channel member, you can do that. But that's why there are these sort of really uniform little spikes there as to when that's coming in. But underlying that, you can kind of see a wavy line, which represents basically the rise and fall in revenue. And I think at the moment it's around about... let's have a look. If I just go to last 28 days, it's around about 259 a month. Well, at December, it was more like around 450 to 500. So it's the revenue has dropped off on that as well because the videos have dropped off. And that's because my posting has dropped off. So it's all just completely interlinked. One of the things I haven't really done of late, I did do in the early days after at least my first batch of 100 videos. I haven't done much split testing and things like that. And that's something that I want to spend more time on. I do feel that I've neglected YouTube apart from doing these weekly live streams. I've kind of neglected it a little bit in terms of optimizing it, optimizing descriptions, titles, split testing thumbnails. We can now split test thumbnails directly in YouTube. You could do it with TubeBuddy before as well, but now anybody can do it with YouTube. That's something that I'm not doing. The one task that I haven't yet transitioned over to Zarina, our graphics VA, is to actually have her create all of the thumbnails. So that's kind of the next step. I just need to put a few things in place to make that easy. By the way, we're using Notion to do all the managing of tasks and then building out. That's one of the things I mentioned about back-end systems. That's the other thing, is building out an entire content database in Notion. Everything all linked to tasks. It's all linked to all of the different products and offers and things like that we've got in Kajabi as well. So it's a way for us to just manage everything. That's going to be another course that will be coming. Is the how to build a content business in Notion. But yeah, still lots to do and lots more to focus on in YouTube. So I'm going to not say that I'm going to do this next month or the month after, but as we go into next year, I intend to be starting to create a lot more content, also creating more short form content as well. I've started doing that, started creating a few videos around different things with getting a new workflow, creating the short form video in Ecamm, just recording a 1 minute video. I still hate repurposing content because I always feel that repurposed content never flows like it's a proper piece of proper thing, because it doesn't often have a concise start, middle and end, and so I always feel it's kind of second rate. I can always tell a mile off when something is just blatantly AI'd, as in pulled out of a long form video, but even stuff that's been done intentionally never quite feels that right to me. So I'm just doing 1-minute videos at the moment recording. YouTube have announced that from the 15th of October, they're going to allow 3-minute videos as shorts on YouTube, which is actually great because I always find it difficult to fit it into a minute. And so I would prefer to do something that was like 2.5 minutes long, something like that. And that would mean that I could post it to TikTok, to YouTube as shorts, and to IG Reels, and also to Twitter and LinkedIn as well. So I am just posting it to all the places, but having that extra time for shorts is something that I think is going to be beneficial. So those are a few of my plans for that time ahead. Just a few more check-ins with the lovely people here. Hey, Craig, great to see you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I always say you've got to skate. Well, I don't always say this. Somebody else said this and I stole it. Let me be clear about that because I don't play hockey either. But somebody said you've got to skate to where the puck is going, as in don't just look at where you are now, but try to aim for something further. So thank you very much. I'm glad that's not gone unnoticed. Know your Joe. Hello. Great to see you here as well, Joe. When did I start? It was May of 2021. So it's been just over 3.5 years. Hey, Rich, that's my oopsie to my open mic, I think. Hey, Michelle, I can't wait to meet you too. So at Creator Camp coming up, not long now, 2 weeks away. Thanks, Eric. Great to see you here as well. I know you've been along on this ride since the start as well as one of the Ecamm fam too. So great to see you here. Florence as well. Always great to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for the congratulations too. So yeah, those are my sort of plans for the coming months, is just really developing more of the digital stage series of products, I guess, and then also getting back to a focus on long form video content creation and short form content creation for YouTube. As I say, there is a discount offer running through till next Wednesday, just as my way of saying thank you, and that's on all courses. You can find those by going over to my website and just go over to, well, there's a big thing at the top there, but you can go to resources. And I beg your pardon, you can go to learning and go to all courses there as well. And then that will take you through to all the different courses that there are available. The Ecamm Masterclass is free now and will be free forever, so you can always get that one. But I've got courses on Rodecaster, Stream Deck, Keynote, and the outsourcing one. If you really want to free up your time, that's the one to check out. So yeah, just use that code at checkout to get your discount. There's also some beginner's guides up there on YouTube and Discord as well. If you're interested in the Academy, the doors are actually closed to it, but you can go and register your interest. So you'll find links to that down in the description as well. But that is, apart from some people who had already pre-registered, but now if you're interested in that, then you can enter your details there, and then I will contact you when I'm going to do that launch event and give you some early access to all of that. Once you do join the Academy, by the way, what that gives you access to is we have office hours sessions. So those I do every week. And by the way, I say the doors are closed. We've still got, it's still fully active with active members. It's just that we're not taking any new people in until that launch event. As I say, apart from a few who've had select early access. But the office hour sessions are, I do 2 of those a week, 12 hours apart. So it gives you access to those to come and get your questions answered from me and other like-minded entrepreneurs in the group as well. We've got monthly workshops in there as well. And then, of course, you get access to all of the different courses that are included in that as well. And then there is, of course, the network, which I mentioned, another place to come and get your questions answered as well. And I'm always looking for ways to improve the Academy. So one of the things that we've just started doing recently, well, I guess 2 months ago, is all of these office hour sessions. Obviously they're quite long. They're between an hour and a half or 2.5 hours long sometimes. So we have transcripts and AI summaries of them, so you can sort of go through and check like what was actually covered to then be able to go and decide if you want to go through the whole the replay. So the replays are all available of those. So those have been going on for, as I say, 18 months. So there's technically 18 months of replays which are getting added in there. What I'm also going to do is looking to create take the transcripts and actually create a text wiki. So all of the knowledge base that has been covered, the things that are happening in AI at the moment are just so amazing and add so much value. It means we can really extract a lot out of that, and so have a way to sort of present that as a wiki, which I'm looking at building out in Notion at the moment. So that's not there yet. It's just another one of these work in progress things. But there you go. You're very welcome. Thank you. Just checking in with the chat again. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here, and so glad that you've been along the way. I know you've been here in so many of these live streams and been so much support along the way too. So I certainly appreciate you just as much, Alberto. Jeff as well, great to see you, one of our Academy members in fact. Great to see you here as always, and usually my timekeeper, but you missed the timekeeping today, but don't worry, Rich kept me on the ball. We normally have our little backstage chat and we were just sort of waffling away. So there you go. So with that said, if there are any questions that you've got about being on YouTube, about the Academy, about any of the things that I've talked about, feel free to either drop them in the chat or drop them in the comments down below. Don't forget, you can also head over to Discord as well if you would like to join the community there. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask in there as well. If you do want any one-to-one help with any of the sorts of things that I talk about on here with audio, video, or anything like that, then you can also book a consultation. Link to that is down in the description as well. So there's free discovery calls on there leading into obviously one-to-one consultations. And I do also offer ongoing one-to-one coaching as well. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you on another live stream very soon. I'll leave a link to some relevant content when I get around to it. I can never do this immediately after, so I have to remember to go and do it the next day. But anyway, I will try. And thanks, as always, to my channel members. I really appreciate all of your support as well. Have a wonderful everyday, everybody. I will see you again next time.